nation stands out because of the crisis we're having in California. We're now 48th in the nation in testing, 49th in class size. We're funding is $1,000, as I said earlier, below the average. And none of that had to happen. None of that. California is the richest state in the union, could provide the money. As I said, if we had a fair tax, I have a 4-point program that I've offered, presented it in my book on California, that would raise $25 billion for the budget while cutting taxes for 60% of the people. All I want to raise taxes on is the corporations in that 5 richest percent in California, with people making over $200,000 a year. And the difference, people don't understand what little we're talking about. Do you know that wealthy people, somebody who makes $16 million, like a certain person that I won't mention, a year, is paying a lower tax rate than people who make $40,000 a year in California? This has to end. We got to get fairness in our tax structure so we can solve this. So that's number one. Second is the environment. We need a crash program in alternative energy. And I present a series of ideas. We're getting a lot of hype right now. We're being told we're going to put solar in all the homes. If you look at that program, that 10-year program, we'll put solar on 1% of the homes. It's an exaggeration. And now they're promising once again to do something good, and I'm not against it. Of course, I'm for it. They're talking about, 10 years from now we're going to do, well, they did that before and nothing happened. It makes me very nervous when they're always promising it's something 10 years from now, and not let's get to work now. We need a forced march for alternative energy. So those two issues are very important, but the other is immigration. The immigration issue now has become to the fore, and it's really being talked by everybody. I'm the only Latino running. I'm the only person who's for legalizing the immigrants, and I want to stun you by telling you the facts. There is one Mexican arriving for every 100 Americans once every 6 years. That's the immigration we're having, into a country growing at 3% a year compounded, and our population growth rate is approaching the 0 point. At 2.07 babies per woman, you're not growing anymore. We're at 2.1. We don't have an immigration crisis. We don't have an immigration problem. These immigrants, by their work, strengthen the economy and create jobs for U.S. citizens. We should treat them the same way we've treated all other immigrants. We integrate them into our society, we legalize them, and we got to end this apartheid system where people live in our nation without the same rights, without the right to vote. They pay taxes. They can't even get a driver's license. We even have a person in California sitting in prison, doing life in prison for cheating on a DMV test, an undocumented worker. Santo Reyes. And I'm asking the governor, and I'm asking everybody, the legislature and the Senate, to stand up and say no to this and let this man go. He's been in prison for 6 years. So the question of immigration is crucial, that we get that right. So far, the choices that are being presented are totally wrong. One is to criminalize them, the other is to set up an apartheid system. We don't want any more apartheid systems in America, the way we treated African Americans. We either accept the people who are here that are working, making America stronger, and welcome them like we did Italians and British and Germans and everybody else, or we have to recognize that we're off on the totally wrong direction. If we were to deport all these people, our economy would crash. It is insane. There is no reason, and behind this campaign is unconscious, I'm being very generous, unconscious racism. Because if these were Swedes and Norwegians and Germans, the debate would be very different. That's as a Latino, that's why it's so important, for instance, that I be included in the debates. Our community, we're over a third of the population in California. I am the only candidate running that stands for legalization, which is the majority opinion in our community.
And is that the key platform of legislation that you feel is needed, the key element, or are there other?
Well, I mentioned 3 things that I think are crucial right now. There are many other issues. The infrastructure. I'm very nervous. I'm for the proposal that we raise some money because we're way behind on the infrastructure. But I'm very nervous that it becomes a game where, you say, I'm going to raise $40 billion for the infrastructure. Hint, hint, give me some money for my campaign and you might get some of this. And we should have an independent committee that's nonpartisan, handling a long-term plan and making those decisions so that we get the corruption out of it. It is very dangerous to raise that kind of money and then start giving it away. So I'm very nervous about that side of it, but the basic idea that we need a plan and we need to develop the infrastructure in California is a desperate need.
You raise a number of complex issues as being priorities. 3 or 4 years from now, if you're elected governor and you look back, what can you realistically have accomplished in that time?
Well, save our educational system. We need to pour money into it. I mean, why should we be $1,000 per student below the national